Sanchez, and I attended my first SGI meeting in February of 2010. Hold on, I need to get Kleenex. If you know me, you know this. I attended my first SGI meeting out of obligation to my hairdresser, whom I consider a great friend. I've known Helen Bro since 1998, and she bugged me for years to attend a meeting because they didn't meditate, they chanted. I thought to myself, chanting, what can that do? So Helen invited me and my partner at the time to come to a special women's celebration because she was going to be leading the chanting. It sounded important, and I wanted to support her, so we attended. As it turns out, the chanting did do something. It awakened in me something I wasn't aware of, a past life of chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. A vow made in another life, buried deep within myself, slowly awakened, cleared its throat, and began the beautiful chorus again. This chorus, just like my practice, was very shaky at first. But what attracted me to this organization was the promise of reaching my highest potential. To be able to do that would mean I would have to admit I had potential in the first place. My mother was deaf-mute since birth. My grandfather vowed to protect her and forbade her from dating when he found out she had a boyfriend. When she was 43, in the middle of the night, a brother-in-law was caught in her room. He was run out of town with his family, my Aunt Vicky, my mother's sister, and their 2 children, Olga and Lupi. My grandfather forbade the rest of the family to ever speak of the incident. Then, 9 months later, I come along, fulfilling my karma. Being born to a bastard in a strong Christian community is largely frowned upon, especially in the 60s. Yet there I came, born at 12 noon, Easter Sunday, 1965. Wow. What a mission to fulfill. I never knew who my father was growing up. When I asked about him once, I was quickly shut down and told never to ask again. This must be where I get my inability to share my feelings. For the first 45 years of my life, I suffered from the weight of guilt and shame I placed upon myself because I am an illegitimate child. I was painfully shy and didn't make friends until the 5th grade. Even as an adult, I made up lies about my father, who he was, and why he wasn't present in my life. I feared I would be found out as a fraud because I didn't have 2 parents. This chanting thing made me feel something inside myself I had never experienced. Everyone said to chant for the impossible, so I chanted to feel loved and have someone be proud of me. I have a family, and they've always said they loved me, but never showed me love, mainly through lack of support. When I was 26, I continued to fulfill my karma and became pregnant. I had no intention of marrying the father, as we were and are still good friends, but the relationship was not serious. I am pro-choice. I went to an abortion clinic, saw the sonogram, and was given time to think over my decision. My choice was to bring the pregnancy to term and place the child in adoption. I had signed all the documentation for adoption before I could muster up the courage to tell my family. When I was finally able to call my aunt to tell her that I was pregnant, I wasn't even able to get out what my plans were before these words came out of her mouth. We can't help you. And they didn't, not even when I was in the hospital delivering the baby. I have felt sorry for myself my entire life until this practice. There's no doubting this mystic law of cause and effect. When this center first opened, I was Toban for an entire month, mainly out of gratitude. But also I wanted to make a difference and prove this practice works. I was rewarded by being one of the few who received personal guidance from Linda Johnson. Her guidance slapped me across the face and awoke me from my victim mentality. When I sobbingly told her my plight, she matter-of-fact replied, "So, many of people have been born that way." And she was right. On her last visit, I shared this story with her and thanked her for slapping me awake. This made her smile. I suffered because I only focused on what I didn't have. I focused on what my friends and peers had accomplished, and I hadn't. I focused on all the wrong things in my life. I felt sorry for myself and fell into a cycle of pity, and I believed I was the only one. It is said that our worst enemy is the one between our ears. Truly. The cycle of suffering is in our lives for a reason. We can handle it one of two ways: suffer through it lifetime after lifetime, or change it into our mission by taking responsibility for our karma and becoming happy. I've been able to transform my suffering into happiness, and every prayer I have made to my Gohonzon has been answered. Remember, my first prayer was to be loved? Excuse me. Shortly after chanting to be loved, my thought-to-be cousin Olga confessed to me that she and Loopy were actually my siblings. They both remember that night when they were run out of town by our grandfather. She and Loopy were especially hurt because they loved our grandparents. She was 12 and he was 9. They were forced to move away. She is in very poor health and had to tell me she loved me before she died. She didn't think she would live to see 60. She's 62. My second prayer was to have someone feel proud of me. In 2012, I needed a new car. I chanted to the Gohonzon for 2 hours straight for the courage and wisdom to get a good deal. After I selected a Jeep, they originally asked for $4,000 down. I negotiated to $1,500. I only had $800 in my account though, but I made the deal. As I waited for the paperwork to be done, it seemed to take longer than usual. My normal self-doubt took over and my mind raced to every negative thought imaginable. But then my Buddha wisdom kicked in. I began chanting to myself that the deal would go through because this car was for Kosen Rufu. I knew I didn't have the full $1,500, but I was determined to have it in my account no matter what. When the account manager finally called me back, I braced for the news. She apologized for the long wait, but she didn't like the deal the sales manager made with the finance company. She renegotiated my loan, lowered my monthly car payment by $100, and my new down payment was $415. When I shared this with my brother Loopy, he told me he was proud of me. Unbeknownst to most, practicing this Buddhism doesn't keep life's challenges away. It helps you get through them easier, and believe it or not, with joy. In mid-October last year, I was laid off from a company I had worked for 7 years, and from the best job I had ever had. Although I thought my practice was strong, I fell into depression and even had a breakdown here at the center. Thank goodness for Bodhisattvas of the earth like Alicia Freisinger, her sister Marilyn, Alice Goey, and Helen Bro. They picked me up, dried my tears off, dried the tears and snot from my face, and got me chanting with hope again. It was during this dark time that I formed my mentor-disciple relationship with Sensei. As soon as I did this, I received a job offer I didn't even apply for, which I accepted. Although it was a pay cut, it was a job I was very familiar and comfortable with. HR consultant for nursing homes. My territory was Austin and Houston with a monthly visit to the corporate office north of Dallas. I hated it. Even though I hadn't been on the job at 60 days, I went to my Gohonzon and I made a determination to return to training. I chanted that I would have a training job and I would be able to leave this current job in an appropriate and respectful manner. The very next day, a former coworker of mine posted on Facebook that she was looking for a trainer in the Austin area. This person works for an Austin-based company but lives in Chicago. I messaged her that I was interested. She happened to be 5 minutes away from the restaurant I was eating at, so we met. The job sounded like something I could do, and I would be reporting to her, which I could totally do. My only problem was my current company. Bam, the Gohonzon answered again. One of the reasons I hated the job was my immediate supervisor, a lawyer. He called me the very next day to break the bad news that they had lost the contract to the Austin buildings. I know, but not to worry. They wanted me to move to either Dallas or Houston. I declined. He then stated not to worry because he guessed that would be my answer. He offered me a position where my territory would now be Houston and Lubbock, 100% travel. I declined and gave my 30 days notice. Just as the determination I had made to my Gohonzon, I was returning to training and I was able to responsibly resign from my position due to their loss of contract, not because I didn't like the company. Notice how I didn't hope that I would get a training job or plead to get a training job. I chanted that I would have one. Now, I have this training job, and my territory is Dallas, Waco, Austin, and Houston. I've been an HR professional for over 20 years, and I've traveled for my jobs since 1993, and I'm tired. This new job doesn't help, because when I travel, I'm gone at least 3 nights a week. I returned to my Gohonzon, and I chanted with the determination, I've been on this new job 6 months, and half of those months we have not been allowed to train and pull team members out of the store due to financial performance. Because of my HR background, I saw the writing on the wall, reduction in force, layoffs would be coming soon. I returned to my Gohonzon, and I chanted with the determination to have a training job where I wouldn't have to have overnight travel, and I could also concentrate on more content design and development. Even though I thoroughly enjoyed working with my current boss, I knew I was the newest person on the team and I would most likely be laid off. I began looking and applying for jobs. I even received a response, but mystically, our wires were crossed and the phone interview never happened. Since I began this practice 4 years ago, I believed it would work. In the World Tribune and Living Buddhism, I have read experience after experience how Nichiren Buddhism has transformed people's lives by chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, forming a bond with Sensei, participating in SGI activities, and sharing this practice. If it worked for all those people, why couldn't it work for me? So I began giving my all into SGI activities. Here are the opportunities I have taken advantage of, and which you can as well. Tobon, cleaning the center, especially on Fridays. The bookstore, we are now open every time the center is open. Kofu table, the contribution table. I also, when needed, volunteer with the ESD elementary school and junior high school group when needed. And ladies, women's division, I cook. Whenever we have these big meetings, we need people to cook. So gentlemen, if you like to cook too, it's there available to you. And I'm also a district leader. So I know many leaders here are worried that I will burn out with all I do. But I love giving and supporting. It comes natural to me. I don't do anything half-hearted. I support full force and give my all because each time I've received more than I've given. Nichiren Daishonin writes, if you light a lantern for another, it will also brighten your own way. My path is brightly lit for myself and others. Guess what? I was on the layoff list. Instead, I received a raise. My new territory is Waco, Austin, and San Antonio with no overnight stay. My new title is Territory Trainer / Design and Development Specialist. Mystically, every word of determination I made and chanted to my Gohonzon, my supervisor repeated back to me when she explained this new position that had never existed before. I'm winning today because of the determination, prayer, and action I took and learned from my mentor, Daisaku Ikeda. He's just an ordinary human being who believed, changed himself, changed his environment, and changed the world. And I vow to do the same and to support others in their endeavor as well. Will I always win? Yes, because I'm determined to through prayer and action. So what's one prayer you want answered? Go to your Gohonzon and have absolute faith that it's a done deal, and then take action to make it happen. Thank you.